This is Miss Alexander from Mercer Middle School. I'm going to be going over the last page, page 8 of the interim 2 for 8th grade with Miss Agapov, Mr. BR, Miss Allen, and Mr. Dixon. So I'm going to go through these fairly quickly at first, and then at the end I will loop back and do some more in-depth instruction on each of these standards. So first of all, we've got standard analyze and solve linear equations and pairs of simultaneous linear equations. Jenny is solving the linear equation 6 minus 7x plus 2 equals negative 5x minus 2x plus 8. Her final two steps are. It's not even asking us to solve this system. They've already done it for us, and they ended up with 8 equals 8. I know that is always true. Because it is always true, that means the system has infinitely many solutions. So that answer would be D. If there was no solution, it would look like 7 equals 8 or something that was never true, and so on and so forth. I'll just go back over that at the end. Question part B. Select all the equations that have infinitely many solutions. Just like before, infinitely many solutions means that the equation is always true. So I'm going to look at this first one. I should end up with something that says, for example, 3 equals 3 or x equals x if they're going to be infinitely many solutions. Now looking at this one, do one quick step. 3v is when you add 2v and 1v equals 3v minus 7. Well, I know that 3v always equals 3v, but we've taken away an extra negative 7. So that is not going to have infinitely many solutions. I could do one more step and subtract 3v from both sides. I end up with 0 equals negative 7. That is never true, so that does not have infinitely many solutions. Let's look at B. There's nothing really I could do to simplify either side, but I could just take a look at this and figure out if it has infinitely many solutions, or I could do some quick math here. Add 4x to both sides. I end up with negative 6 equals 1. So that does not have infinitely many solutions. It has no solution. Over here, I've got 8x equals positive 8x. That's always true. It's always the same. And we also have negative 4 equals negative 4. So that does have infinitely many solutions. And I could quickly do some math to show that as well. Take away 8x from both sides, and I get negative 4 equals negative 4. That is an always true statement. So that has infinitely many solutions. That means the two lines would intersect everywhere on a graph. Part D, it says select all, by the way, and so when it says select all, it means that sometimes there's going to be more than one answer that is correct, so we have to check the last one as well. So positive 5n, take away 5n is 0. Negative 4 plus 0 equals negative 4 minus n. I can already tell that's not true, but we can do one more step here. Notice that this side says negative 4 plus 0, and this side says negative 4 minus n. So I know that's not going to be always the same on both sides. It's not always going to be equal. This one, I'm going to end there and just say nope, not infinitely many solutions. Okay, if I go down to the last two, enter the value for x that makes the equation true. That is another way of saying solve for x. What value for x makes this true? So I'm going to draw a line to make sure that whatever I do on one side of the equation, I do on the other, so it maintains equality or balance. This is the distributive property, so I've got, because I can't add 8x and 12, 8 over 1, 12 over 1. 8x times 1 is 8x, 4 times 1 is 4. Then I have 12 on top when I multiply 1 times 12, and 4 times 1 makes 4. Add 2 more x to make 23. You might be tempted to make this a fraction right now, but I'm noticing that I can simplify these first, so I'm going to do that to make this problem a little easier. 8 divided by 4, I can simplify that to 2 over 1. So 2 times x on top, 1 on the bottom, but I don't need to write that because it's just a whole number. And 12 divided by 4 is also a whole number, 3. So all of a sudden, it's much simpler. You could solve this by making this over 1 and adding it together and simplifying later, but it's just a little harder. I choose not to do that. We've got some like terms. 2x plus 2x is 4x. Now I'm down to a two-step equation. Take away 3 on both sides. You could even at this point do it in your head, but I recommend going all the way to the end just to make sure. And then we divide by 4. X equals 5. Did we find the value for x that makes the equation true? We did. We could check this. I saw some students doing that. I'll just quickly write that out, but I'm not going to do the whole thing. If x is 5, I'll replace where 8x, I will replace that with 8 times 5. And I could do some quick math to see if that really was true if I was uncertain. It's always a good idea to do that. And look, 13 plus 10 is 23. So I was right. So again, you can check your work This wasn't necessary. You didn't have to do that, but I would do that if I were you and I had some time at the end of my test. Enter the value for x that makes the equation true. Same question. So this one, well, same type of question. Negative 3v plus 6 times 1 is 6. Positive 6 times negative 6 is negative 36v, and we have negative 228. The difference between these two questions, if we take a look, this one had no negatives, but it did have fractions. This one has no fractions, but it does have negatives. So that's why there's two questions that are so similar. They're wanting you to really think about both of those skills. Negative 3v minus 36v gets more negative. Another way of saying that is negative 3 plus negative 36 is negative 39. V plus 6, negative 228. Another place that you might make a mistake is right here. Negative 228 take away 6. We end up with negative 39v right here, and we get negative 234. Final step, divide by negative 39, so we can get positive 1v on the left, and we have v equal, and we get 6. It is a positive 6. Again, I recommend checking your work. If at this point you're ready to go on this video, you can stop, but I'm just going to quickly show my work here to make sure I'm right, because I want to make sure that when I walk out of this test, I feel confident, and this helps me get that confidence. So again, my confidence is there that I'm correct because it told me to find a value for x that makes the equation true, and I have just verified that yes, this is true. If you want to be done with the video, that's fine. I'm just going to go over a couple ideas if you were struggling with any of these concepts. This question here, they may actually change the question. You never know. It's fair game to ask if there's infinitely many solutions, if there is one solution, or if there is no solution. So those are the three types of solutions you can have for a system. So I want you to really make sure, no matter what they give you, you will know what to do. Remember, infinite solutions means that on a graph, you'd have an equation that produces a line, another equation that produces the exact same overlapping line. If you're talking about no solution, you'd be talking about two equations for which one of them has a slope and a y-intercept like such, and the other one has the same slope but a different y-intercept, so they are parallel lines. They're never going to meet. They have no solution. And then the last situation would be if there was one solution. That would look like this. You have an equation with a certain slope and a certain y-intercept, another equation with a different slope. Could have the same y-intercept or even a different one, but if their slopes are different, they're going to have one solution because they're going to intersect somewhere. So if we're looking at this system here, we would easiest thing to do, I would think, would be to simplify the equation, start solving the equation to see what we end up with here. An infinite solution situation would end up with something like this, where 6 equals 6 or x equals x. No solution would be something that's never true, 6 equals 5, for example. And one solution would be you'd get an x value, x equals something, or y equals something. So there would be a way to make that true. X does have a value that would make that true. So if you're given a situation here where they ask you if it has no solution or one solution, you're looking for these type of situations. Same thing here. If you were given, I'm going to keep with this color blue throughout, so as I'm going over these deeper concepts, that will be the blue that I'm about to write in. Select all the equations that have no solution. Well, this one has no solution because we have a situation where this is never going to be true. And we can also see that here. If this was an expression over here, that could also be seen as a system of linear equations. See, there's two expressions equal to each other. So if this was an equation, y equals mx plus b, the slope would be 3. So that would look something like this. This is not going to be a very well-drawn graph, but you'll get the idea. 3x plus 0, for example. Y-intercept is at 0, and the slope is up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. I'm estimating here. And you'd end up with something like this. Well, this this equation says y equals mx plus b again. What if the slope was 3, same as this one, but the y-intercept was negative 7? So let's say this was about negative 7, and it would be up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. We'd end up with this. If I'd done that perfectly, you'd see these lines were perfectly parallel, so there's no solution. So again, if you end up with a situation like this, where it's like 5x plus 2 equals 5x minus 6, well, the slopes are the same, and the y-intercepts are different, so that's going to have no solution. If they had said one solution, well, that would be a situation like this one. So I could solve plus 4 plus 4, 0 equals negative n. So divide by negative 1 on both sides, and negative 0, well, it's still 0, is n. So does n have a solution? Does this system have a solution? Is there a value for n that would make this true? Yes, there is. And I can show that here. We've got negative 4 plus 5. What is n? It's 0. Take away 5. What is n? It's 0. Equals, I'm going to move this over, negative 4, take away what is n? It's 0. So if I solve this, it's going to be true. So we've got negative 4 plus 0 minus 0 equals negative 4 minus 0. Negative 4 equals negative 4. So this worked. This was a solution to that system. So because I can use an n or x value, a variable amount, to make an equation true, I know that it has one solution. Whereas this one says negative 4 equals negative 4. That's infinitely many solutions. I could put anything in for x and it would be true. I could put in 2. I just randomly picked 2. 8 times 2 minus 4 equals negative 4 plus 8 times 2. 16 minus 4 equals negative 4 plus 16. Yes. 12. 12. I could have put in 7 for x and it would have been true. 27, a million for x, and this would have always been true. There's nothing more I want to say about these ones down here. Just solving them is probably the best bet there. So that's it. Watch this video a few times if you need to. Study for the standard, given, maybe look back in your notebook and find other problems or notes you have on this. You can look at past homework assignments or past quizzes. If you need more resources, let us know. You can also go to Khan Academy and you can look up this standard. So you'd go to 8.EE.7, analyze. So if we open Firefox and you type in under search 8.EE.7, you're going to find some resources on that same exact topic. You're going to find resources on that same exact topic. So expressions and equations, 8th grade. And when we look here, it may take a second to find it, but not integers, 8.EE.7, keep going, 8.EE.7. So we've got number of solutions to equations. That's what we were just working on. 1, infinite, and no solution. So they're going to give you something that looks just the same as what we just did. It says you probably need a calculator, and if you really don't know, you can always press use a hint, or you can find these videos you can watch, or you can get a hint. That's fine, use the hint. Let's manipulate the equation to simplify, so just what we just did. It says go ahead and start solving this equation for x, and it gives you the 3 situations. Is it always true? A always is A. Is it never true? Or is it only sometimes true, where it has one solution? So that's it. Use your resources, practice, study, and watch the other videos as well. This is only one of 8 videos.